Miss Linda here. So let's talk about 12 things that you need to know before becoming a wife, and no one will tell you about this. If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my weekly videos. Now, I've been married for 10 years, and there are some things I've come to learn over my marriage period that no one really talks about. I had three SSengas try to train me. Not try, I had three SSengas train me. I did premarital counseling. I even got separated for 6 months, and we are now back together. And I just decided to do a list of some of the things that will help any young wife or anyone who's thinking about getting married. Now, the first thing is your man will be your biggest source of insecurities and fears. And that's really the truth. And I learned it the hard way because it took me a long time before I embraced inner work. So by the time I was going through my whole personal development journey, I realized that I was carrying a lot of pain and fears just around love, because I grew up seeing quite a lot in terms of broken relationships or painful love relationships. So it reached a point whereby my husband would do anything that would remind me of my childhood. Oh my God, it would send me off down the rail. And just know, if you're getting married, it's really important to start doing your inner work early so that you can recognize some of the areas that are a pain point. Obviously, growth is forever, like we never stop learning, but it's good for you to be aware, because that's what relationships do. They help you grow, and you can only grow when you get to realize what are some of the things that are hurting you that you need to work through. The second thing is your man needs space. And this is something that I'm still getting to really appreciate more and more, because at the beginning when I was getting married, there was that period, the honeymoon phase, where I literally wanted to be around my husband 24/7. Now, men operate very differently from us as women, and he needed his space, and your man will need his space. I'm sure he's a good man, and he may not know how to tell you without hurting your feelings. But if you found yourself spending so much time together and you feel like he's becoming a little bit distant, that is just his way of letting you know that he needs his space to recharge and just to build back his masculine energy. Yeah. Then the third thing is, in your first years of marriage, you'll probably be very obsessed, yeah, with your marriage. I remember, like, my first 2 years, or is it my first year in marriage, I wanted to literally cook all the meals by myself. I used to leave work, then go home, and then start cooking things, fresh cooked meals every evening. I mean, clearly that was not sustainable, because of course, for obvious reasons, I was tired. Then I mean, honestly, it was just not sustainable. So if you find yourself overgiving or wanting to do like the mostest, I know there's that period where you feel deep love for your man. Pace yourself. Pace yourself. Remember, marriage is a marathon, not a sprint. Now, the fourth thing is, you'll put on some weight. Yeah. Yes, there's childbirth, but even before childbirth, there's that comfortable, beautiful space where, like, as a couple, you're just together. Please pay attention, because you will put on weight. Your man may not tell you that you're looking chubby, because obviously he doesn't want to hurt your feelings, but please look after your body. Like, men are visual. Always look good. Don't, like, do this whole thing where we are always told that, oh, umefika, therefore you have a man. Please watch your weight. Okay. Then sex will become an issue, yeah, at some point, especially after the honeymoon period. Yeah, you'll settle into this comfortable thing where sex will be an issue. So my suggestion to you is, yes, you had skills probably you practiced before you got married, but please, once you get married, continue up-leveling yourself. Keep things fresh. Otherwise, it's bound to get boring so soon. I even knew this babe. She was asking me, like, oh, she's dating a married guy. and the guy was like telling her that, oh, sex is boring, that's why he wants to have a thing with her. The thing is, sex doesn't have to be boring. Sex does not have to be boring. And if you are intentional, first of all, in even just understanding your own body, and this is something that people don't tell you. You have to understand your own body. You need to know what makes you horny, what turns you on, what excites you, how do you want to be touched. Explore your body. Your pleasure is not your man's job, to be honest. It is your own personal, first of all, responsibility. Then anyone else is just invited to share in you as a person once you've fully explored yourself. Seventh thing, your man is not your girlfriend. Yeah? So there's this, it happens quite often where you get into a relationship then, and it happened to me. Like, I didn't want to associate with some of my older friends. Some of them were still single, but I was now feeling like I'm in this whole new space. Therefore, my husband became my everything. And that's another huge mistake. Don't do that. Your man is not a babe. Like, there's some certain conversations you can't have with a man the same way you'd have with a woman. And that's what women are there for. You can chit-chat and talk in circles for like hours on end, and it's okay. That kind of conversation is tiring to a man. He can have it, yes, but not throughout. So please keep your girlfriends there for that, that circle where you have your conversations and you have your banter and chit-chat. Then the other thing is, you will have a lot of money. At some point in your marriage, before children come, you will have a lot of money. Marriage is beautiful such that you somehow start to grow. And before kids come, use that period to really explore yourselves. Yes, I know it's really like, yes, we want to grow and you want to do all these investments, but that's the perfect time to even just train your man. What do you enjoy? What do you love to do? Explore more, have fun, lots of fun, because that way you start to bring up that whole playful energy into your marriage before you start settling into this whole day-to-day responsibility. And even after being married for 10 years with a child, we are now slowly bringing back fun into our marriage. Yeah, so please be playful and have fun with your man. It shouldn't just be all seriousness, business through and through. That energy is dull and it's boring. Okay, now you'll at some point also get bored. Yeah, I got really bored in my 7th year in marriage. You will get bored, and no one talks about this. I sit in some of the circles with my friends, like there's this like, as wives you're supposed to like be this, what do you call this thing? It's like we're not supposed to feel things. The truth is, you will get bored. And that's why it's really important for you to have a life, have your own hobbies, have your own friends, have your own things that excite you outside your marriage. Yeah? Boredom is real. It will check in. And I looking back, one of the reasons that was making me so miserable was because I was expecting a lot of emotional support from my husband. He cannot always be like building me up throughout emotionally. I should be able to stand on my own and have my own life going. Then we come together and complement each other. Okay? Then the other thing, I think I'm on point number 11 by now. Your friends will make comments about your marriage and your relationship, and even your man. In my case, my man started like looking good. It's been documented. Men thrive a lot in marriages, yeah, because as women we create a safe space, a beautiful space for them to just come back, relax, and just be men, especially after they've gone through the harsh world outside. So I'd have moments where some of my friends would be like, oh, your man is looking hot, oh, he's like this, oh, he's like that. Please know that people will make comments. It's usually tricky for some of your friends to realize that you're married, and marriage is not dating. Therefore, some of the things that you used to do before, you may not be comfortable to do it. So I'd get prickly, honestly, because I'd be like, why are you talking about my man like that? But just realize people will make comments, and they will make comments. And my suggestion to you is not to engage in a battle, because what's the point anyway? that's their way of them noticing that a positive change is happening into your life. So let them make the comments, and if you feel like they've pushed, they've crossed a certain boundary, just let them know you're not comfortable having that conversation. Okay? Then the last point when it comes to marriage is, at some point you will regret getting married. And I went through that from year number 5, 6, 7, actually until last year. It started just as little regret, then it built into full-time resentment before I moved out January this year. So when it comes to the feeling of like you made a mistake, like you're regretting things, yes, it will happen. And if I could have told myself back then, when I started feeling those feelings, I should have looked for a wise way of addressing the feelings, instead of sitting with all that pain and anger, and letting it build to the point where I had to leave my marriage. So yes, it's very, very normal to feel regret. It's very, very normal to feel like you made a mistake. However, instead of ignoring those feelings, find a wise way of just having a conversation with your man so that you can talk about it. And if there's one thing I've learned throughout my marriage is, things happen. When anything happens in your marriage, don't throw it under the carpet. Like, for instance, the first time you notice that he's going out and he's drinking, and maybe he's drinking a lot and it's becoming too much, don't look for ways to shortchange or to ignore that topic. And it's very, very easy, especially if you're an empathetic wife like I am. You probably start to look for excuses, then you'll start to remember the lessons you were taught. Oh, you're supposed to persevere in marriage, this. No. If anything happens in your marriage that you feel is really causing you your peace of mind, take that as a clue for you to sit down and have a conversation. And even in that sitting down and having a conversation, I did a video on how to have difficult conversations with your man in a way that you'll get what you want. So check it out on the playlist. I'll link it back to this. Have a conversation with your man, because honestly, yes, you're married, but you don't have to suffer through nonsense or foolishness. I mean, after losing my mom, I've come to realize that life is so short. You shouldn't be compromising on your happiness and your joy. And if you find that you keep bringing up a certain conversation, and this I'm speaking from my experience, and nothing is changing, first of all, the first thing would be for you to look at how are you bringing this conversation up. That will be the first thing. Then the second thing is your man really receptive to listening to you? If he is, well and good, then that's a very good segue for both of you to go and figure out how things are done. Because ultimately, I've come to realize, ultimately, both of you need to be able to work through things. Yeah, and it really shouldn't be so complicated, because I think also at some point, you should start to look at, are you two like working towards the same thing? Are you two sharing the similar values? Because it could be a chance, or maybe you're not compatible. If you find yourself you're butting heads too much on certain issues, you may need to revisit that. Because it took me a long time to have a conversation with my husband, and when we finally did, he was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's have the conversation. And it was really like easy, yeah? So the first thing is, check on how you're approaching the conversation, and then also check the willingness of the person to actually show up and want to make the relationship better. It's not about you blaming him for doing things. It's really about you two figuring out how you can make things work for the better good of your relationship, yeah? So I offer one-on-one coaching. Please check out the details in the description box, and I'm super excited to hear from you. What are some of the things that you've learned in your long-term relationship? Bye for now.